We also have to give credit to the fact that the gamble that they took to put a entire horror film on the shoulders of a young actor,
right,
and actually succeeding in doing so,
right.
That in itself is worth a few points.
All right, let me jump right into this. I only have two things that I would have changed about this. You're never supposed to say ever. There is not one black child on this earth that would have went back to that house. I just wish that someone had stepped in like, Wes, I love what you're doing. I mean, Wes, who am I to even tell you about how to make a horror story? But the scariest thing to me is to think that that child really thought it was okay to go back in that house.
Yeah.
Even if his his pretend step grand, they'd be like, "What's wrong with you, boy? They used to tell us years ago we used to walk down that street. Like, you give me these gold coins and you go to sleep." Like, I would have changed the fact that he should have not went back in that house. For him to be such a smart person, that was such a dumb thing to do. For all the obvious reasons, not just because he's a black kid, just in general, it's just fucking dumb. But also I know why he knew he couldn't call the police, because he just heard 97 gunshots go off in this motherfucker and a PA system, and them bitches still ain't come. Mm-hmm. God damn, when the police won't come help you at a white person's house, you know you're in fucking trouble.
It was definitely a nice sentiment that he went back to the house, because he did it purely because he gave somebody his word. So that, True. I mean, I'd see, like, as far True. As he's the hero of the film, there, noble characteristics. But yeah.
Wait a minute, he didn't go right back initially. Didn't he go to the phone booth and call the cops?
Yeah, and reported child abuse. And then the cops showed up there. I think he was already hiding in the house or getting in when the cops were there.
And just like a Looney Tune, he's sitting up there explaining to the cops what happened. Man, he lifts up his hat to show the brute, and the other guy's just looking all around. And one thing I did want to hit on real quick is that one of the underlying tones there, that there could have been a sequel to this, and I don't know if Wes ever thought this. Had they not saved that girl, she was going to become them. She got to live upstairs. She said, "I see no evil, I hear no evil," meaning she's going to do what she's taught and continue it on, just like the girl from Us, mm-hmm. Not from Us, from Get Out, who was sitting there, the cereal and the milk.
Yeah.
That. But the only other thing that I would have changed was the runtime. I really found myself within the last 45 minutes of the film. Like, I mean, I stopped it like an hour and something in, and I was like, man, this is almost perfect. And then when they went back to the house, it just drug on and on. This door, that door, this door. I'm like, look, I get it. Mm-hmm. He like, they're helping him. And I just felt like that if they would have shaved 25 minutes off of this film, I really think it would have become a masterpiece faster, because I do know this has a cult following. So I have to be honest with myself. I would change the fact that he went back to the house. And number two, I would shave about 20 to 30 minutes off the film. And of course, I didn't care for the ending, but I think I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, two main things that I would have changed. The first one is to decide on a tone. In the beginning of the movie and going through it, the stage is set for a dark, twisted horror film, what I feel like it should have been. But then it seems like it's trying to throw in a slapstick element, kind of like Evil Dead. You have like the doorknob shock and then when Roach hits Daddy in the head with a slingshot. There are horrors, there are comedies.
Shouldn't be a homedy.
There are horror comedies. I enjoy all three genres, but People Under the Stairs kind of felt like it didn't commit fully to any tone enough to let me know what kind of movie I was actually watching. On IMDb, it's listed as a comedy horror. I just wish they would have leaned harder into the comedy if that's what they were going for. Wes Craven, he's proven with Scream that he's capable of creating genuinely comedic moments. So I'm not sure what happened in People Under the Stairs. Some of the moments were funny, but they just seemed so
out of place.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to really embrace those moments. You're like, is that supposed to? Okay, we're moving on. The ending, of course, but I think you'll actually agree with me this time, for once, about the ending. I would change the ending. I love the reveal of the People Under the Stairs and Stairmaster at the end. I don't think they did a good enough job at establishing how Mommy and Daddy were successful at keeping them hostage for as long as they did. It seems like all the people had to do was essentially decide to come out, and then they immediately had the upper hand by a damn sight. And then the very end, with the money raining down as the hip-hop track starts playing, that felt kind of insulting.
As a white man, it felt insulting.
As
I mean, I felt that way too.
As a white man on behalf of my black brothers and sisters.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
It was almost like downplaying the issues that the community faced, as if to say a few handfuls of cash is considered a happy ending. Even when it felt like the movie, at the start of it, was initially setting up a nuanced commentary about oppressed black and lower income communities up until that point.
Also, I'm sorry, I see where you're going. I just want to add in, it brought up the same thing we just talked about with Candyman, with the gentrification of the neighborhood that was happening there. Go ahead, yo.
I definitely didn't want to see my usually preferred, like, all crazy tragic ending to a film with this movie, but the ending that we got was just too over the top happy, and I think a more mysterious, abstract closing would have served the message that I think the film was attempting to say a little bit better.
So let me ask you this: how would you have ended it?
I don't know exactly. I would have just liked it to have been a little more nuanced in the ending, to let the audience kind of interpret it however they're ready to accept interpreting it. The ending was essentially like, oh, we're sorry for all this fucked up shit we did. Here's reparations. All is well.
One of the things I think you didn't notice, but also that you didn't talk about, or I didn't talk about, so we're just going to let these people out into the neighborhood now. All these people that are fucked up, we're just going to let them sneak. Who are they sneaking past? Black people.
They weren't even sneaking. They're just casually walking out.
But one thing though, who was the first one out the house?
Oh, it wasn't a Stairmaster?
Yes. Yeah. Who was the first one that was caught? I'm saying, so that's what I'm saying. So he was the first one in and out.
First one in, first one out.
Yeah.
First one to leave.
First one caught and the first one to escape.
Yeah. I'll expand a little bit upon the ending in the review. You ready to get into the review? All right.
I'm sorry, man.
So that was room for improvement. This is our review. Or my review, maybe. Let's see. It seems like with People Under the Stairs, Wes Craven was trying to do Sam Raimi. He even utilized the same effect of shooting something in reverse, then reversing that in post at around an hour and 25 minutes. Yeah, when
the Mortal Kombat reverse scene when she comes through the thing, drops to the floor.
Yeah, when Alice Ex Machina is through the floor. How? I don't know. The timing.
And grabs up the mom and pushes her head on the thing.
Yeah, when she bashes her head on the floor, that was the reverse technique. Even Everett McGill, as Daddy, it looks like he's trying his best Bruce Campbell impression. Which was entertaining to watch on its own, but something about it just didn't work a lot of the time in this movie. I think with the premise that they were working with here, it should have been a straight horror. It's kind of counterproductive to try to create comical moments within a story about kidnapped and abused children. It's like the movie was working against itself tonally. The positives, I would say, is something I appreciate about Wes Craven films is how he manages to maintain the threatening nature of his antagonists while also making them vulnerable. One of the most entertaining aspects of the Scream films was watching Ghostface get his ass kicked up and down the screen for a portion of every encounter. Even Freddy would get the shit kicked out of him in every movie, usually by a girl too. You see that in People Under the Stairs. Daddy is arguably the most physically abused character in the movie, taking a slingshot to the forehead, a knuckle sandwich to the nuts, a brick to the face. Most horror films rely on a bad guy that is like an untouchable force of destruction. You think like Mike Myers, Jason, Friday the 13th. But Wes Craven turns that on its head with his villains, so it's more believable when the hero defeats them in the end. Their weaknesses are established from their first encounters. I also think it's pretty cool how you go into the movie expecting to be afraid of the people under the stairs. It just sounds creepy inherently, but then you realize that the real villains are right in front of you, with the first tier being Mommy and Daddy, and Leroy even serving as an antagonistic catalyst to the plot as well. Wes Craven is obviously a great director, and that's evident in the visual style, pacing, and overall aesthetic of People Under the Stairs, but something fails to click in the overall delivery with the movie. I give it a 3.
Okay. For me, when I looked at this, I'd like to see films that can be courageous and films that have you talking about them. Those are usually suspense thrillers, things of that nature, to make you kind of say, well, I think they were going for this. And you hit it right on the head in part of your review when you said the title itself is People Under the Stairs. And that leads you coming to think that the monsters are under the stairs when really the monsters are upstairs. But film is art. It shouldn't just be telling you what it is. So you go into it's a misdirect. I think it fell victim to here's this great director who has this budget and wants to fit, and you talked about it, fit all of these things that he's gotten out of the refrigerator. It's like going shopping while you're high, like going grocery shopping. You're getting all these things that you don't necessarily need. I would have loved to see Jan's character, the Stairmaster, developed a little bit more, because I know that he was the leader of those people down there, but they made it seem like it was Roach, and it wasn't Roach.
Maybe some flashbacks of how he ended up there or something like that.
Yeah. Right, and like you say, and then we found out that originally he wasn't called Stairmaster, he was called the Big One. I wish he'd have just been called the One, and that's where they all looked at him, because he was the first one, and I think that's where Wes may have been going. But the film, while courageous in the subjects that it tackled, I mean, very courageous at the time, the early 90s, and that's where we joke about old school racism. Those were the times where we were just kids and we knew that there were problems with racism, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now in time. So with that being said, the film for me, while horror, yes, there are elements of horror. Yes, there's elements of comedy, and yes, there's elements of slapstick. And again, that's not you can do it, but that's not what one would want to see. So for me, I think the film really did. It to me, it's really great where it's great, and it's really bad where it's really bad. Like some of the things just should not have happened that happened in the film. So if we're going to be honest about it, for me, would I rewatch it again? Yes, I would rewatch it again, because of the fact that, again, there are so many hidden elements about what's really going on in the film. So that what happened at the end is how you mischaracterized what happened at the end of Candyman with the speech with our guy. I felt like they visually did what you were saying I did artistically. It's like, don't try to wrap this. I don't need the fucking bow. This wasn't a present. Yeah. I know what I came to see. You don't have to do this to me. So to me, I think if I had to give it 1 out of 5 fucks for me.
We also have to give credit to the fact that the gamble that they took to put a entire horror film on the shoulders of a young actor,
right,
and actually succeeding in doing so, that in itself is worth a few points.
I'm going to go ahead. I got to give it 3. If we, like I say, if we were, I mean, this is revisionist history. We're going back and looking at it and saying this is what we would have done. But, they baked the meal. We're just saying that with a few more ingredients, we'll put it this way, even if with us putting it at a 3, it's still a cult classic.
Yeah.
And that it cannot be taken from. So I will give them that. I just really wish Jan's character, the Stairmaster, would have been fleshed out a little bit more, a little less Roach, a little bit more Jan. And again,
well, there was plenty of solid moments that were like 5s or high 4s.
Correct.
But there were a few of those moments, especially where they counted at the end, that dipped into the 1s and the 2s that brought the average down.
Yes.
So but one thing about People Under the Stairs is it has us on the same page with everything as far as scene stealers and fucks given. That gives it an easy average of 3 fucks given for us, flying fucks.
There you go.
All right, what did you think of The People Under the Stairs? When was the first time that you watched it? Did you see it first as a kid? Did you see it as an adult? Would you be interested in seeing a remake? Let us know in the comments. And come.